what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the CW Clinic. My name is Chris. I'm your host. Thank you for joining me today. I have Marianne in the room per usual. I also have a special guest here today that I'm going to introduce here momentarily. First things first, I really want to just, as always, say thank you for your support and listening, taking your time to listen to us. I know I'm a bit crude, a bit rude, a bit vulgar, but I tell it like it fucking is, and that's the way the world turns. This is not a very good show for those that are easily offended, but if you can get past the way that I deliver things at times, you might learn something, and that's the point to the show, is to teach everyone how to not make mistakes and save time with money by understanding the mistakes that I've made in life and business so you can avoid them. And the direction that I've been going in lately with the show is to bring others on to explain their journeys in business as well. And I'm fortunate enough to be joined today by one of my friends who we've actually had an excellent conversation a couple of weeks ago. We had some food, and I think we had steak. Didn't we have steak?
Yeah. I had salmon.
You had salmon. I had steak. And we had a great conversation at Shell and Bones in New Haven. And today I have the CEO of MMA Nutrition, the Egyptian prescription, Mina Elias. What's up, dude?
How's it going, Chris?
It's going good, man. I really appreciate you being here today, honestly.
Thank you.
I know you're a busy guy. And
not too busy for you, man.
Oh, I appreciate that. We're both, I think we both have similar outlooks on life and business.
Definitely.
And, you know, you're running your show, and you explained to me a couple of weeks ago what you were doing over your salmon and my steak. Interestingly, before we get into that, Shell and Bones in New Haven is a seafood spot, but it has excellent steak. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I mean, I never go to like a seafood place and try their steak. I always try the seafood at the seafood place.
Yeah, rightfully so,
I think a friend of mine once got pinched, and he ordered like the fillet or something at a seafood spot, and he was like, "Oh, this fillet sucks," and I was like, "Well, you know, maybe because we're in a seafood place." Right. So ever since then, I never tried anything other than seafood.
That's good. That's good advice. The head chef there, I think his name is Franco. I don't know his last name. He's pretty well known, and he does a great job with everything there. I mean, it's rightfully expensive, but I believe it's good food, good service, and excellent steaks. And so during that conversation, we talked a lot about life, and that's pretty much what we're going to talk about today. Mm-hmm. And the main thing that I think we should approach today is for you to be able to tell the audience who you are. I don't know. Take it like no one knows anything about you. So,
all right.
So who are you?
So I am the Egyptian prescription,
all right.
One and only. So basically, I'm from Egypt. I was born in Cairo. My parents are Egyptian. When I was 2, my dad got a job in Dubai, so we moved there. And it was great. It was all like, you know, sunshine and rainbows and stuff. And it is like that in Dubai. But then up until like maybe I was 12 or something, and then things were very turbulent with my dad. They weren't going as well as they were, and kind of had like a tough time growing up between like the ages of 12 to 17. But my parents struggled hard enough until I graduated, and once I graduated, you know, I went to university. I ended up at the University of New Haven. Now there's a funny side story. I was never supposed to go to the University of New Haven, but I was always a smart guy, top student. I got like really high grades, and I did my AP exams, got like all 5s and stuff, and so I had like kind of my choice to go wherever I wanted. So I picked the University of Toronto because it had like the 3rd best chemical engineering program at the time, and I had a bunch of friends already there, you know, like a year older than me from my high school. So I was like, you know, it's not gonna be really hard because I have friends there and it's a good school. But then my student visa got rejected, so I ended up kind of like staying for a semester at a local university. I was kind of pretty much depressed. I was like, wow, man, I studied so hard. I was like, you know, I wasn't the top of my class over there because there was, you know, a bunch of smart students, but I was up there. And I was like, man, I study so hard. I get all these amazing grades, and then, you know, this is what happens. But, you know, the University of New Haven were there at my high school, and they said, hey, you know, based on your grades, you would get a academic scholarship if you came here. And then after everything happened, I was desperate, so I reached out. I reached out to the good universities first in America, and they said, no, we're not going to accept you. You need to apply again next year, and if you get accepted, we're not going to accept any of your transfer credits or anything like that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, you know that.
Hashtag business.
Yeah, I mean, they're big enough schools where they can do whatever they want. You know, they have a long line of people waiting for them. So, basically, I contacted UNH. They're like, we'll accept you. We'll take all your credits, everything. It was like, wow, like this is the direction like God is like putting me in. And so, you know, you kind of like see the sign and you're like, you follow it. So I ended up here, graduated, you know, with a bachelor's in chemical engineering and chemistry. I was top of my class, and you know, I got my master's eventually. But you know, I started being a victim of my circumstance a lot, and basically when I graduated, I only had one job offer, and I thought, hey, you know, if I don't find another one, I'm gonna get kicked out of the country. So I just took it, and it was a horrible job. Stayed there for a while. You know, got another job, and you know, that was a good job, but like you know, they shut their doors, so I had to find another job. And by the third job, I've just been like working hard, getting better, but I always feel like people are like undervaluing me. And then, you know, like one day I was thinking to myself, I was like, you know, maybe I'm asking the wrong questions. Maybe instead of like asking these people like, hey, you know, I deserve to be paid better because or paid more because I work better and I work harder stuff. I said, well, if I'm so good and you know, working hard and making these other people money, maybe I should do it for myself. And that's when I started my business back in September 2018. And I was like, listen, you know, if I'm you know, working for this guy saying, hey, you know, pay me like an extra $10,000 because I can make you more than $10,000, then, well, why don't I prove it to myself and make myself an extra like $10,000, $20,000, whatever, and then work for myself. So I started the business, and you know, MMA Nutrition, supplements, you know, and then the rest from there is history. I just started growing, and now I just checked, and I think in the last 365 days, what is today? November what?
19th.
19. So
all day.
Yeah. So I launched November 22nd on Amazon. So as of today, I think we're like $342,000 in sales since I started, and obviously, you know, it hasn't
in 1 year.
In 1 year.
That's
yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I started not knowing anything. I just kind of like went head first into it, so it's good. I mean, the projections for next year are a lot better, but you know, it's been a wild ride, and it's definitely helped me grow a lot. So I'm grateful for everything. I love America.
That's incredible. I don't even know where I should start to piggyback off that, but something I do know that, and I could say, is UNH was really good to me as well. Mm-hmm. It was really easy for me to come over to UNH from Gateway Community College as a veteran. They're known to take care of veterans really easy, and they made everything really, really easy. And they have excellent business program and nutrition program and mm-hmm. engineering programs, yeah. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that doesn't surprise me that you were treated well by them.
Their programs are amazing. You know, one thing I think they could do more is help alumni a little bit better. You know, but they have, you know, to be fair, they have made like, you know, large strides in their career development center. So now they're like helping students get much more jobs. I feel like they don't have a strong alumni network, which, you know, I think part of the reason is people don't like, who live in Connecticut go to UNH. I feel like it's a lot of people from Massachusetts, yeah. New York, whatever, Pennsylvania, and then coming to UNH. So once everyone's done, they leave, and kind of like you lose that alumni network, yeah. As opposed to like other universities where you know, alumni are strong. I mean, I know some places where like, you know, there's so many levels of alumni working for like massive companies. You're almost guaranteed to get a job there once you graduate. So.
Yeah, they only mail me for donations being
yeah.
an alumni.
Yeah.
How about you?
Same thing.
Yeah.
And homecoming.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. No, I never seen that one.
Yeah.
Have you donated?
No, never.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
mean, maybe once I pay all my student loans off.
Yeah, yeah, for real, for real. I completely agree with you. But I think you're right. I think you're right. It would behoove not only them but people involved to be into a stronger network of alumni. And I think it's admirable that you realize that you could provide more value for your not only the people you work for but for others working for yourself.
Yeah.
And I've been in that position myself, working for other gyms, where I would approach the owners and be like, hey, listen, can I help you with things? You know, I'm in a business program, or I think this might work a little better, or let's try it this way. And I would always be shot down.
Yeah, the old school mentality.
Yeah.
I was the exact same thing.
Right.
I was flat out told that, they're like, your master's really is not going to work here. We've been doing this for a long time. You can't really get any better. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, this is definitely not the right place for me if you think what you've been doing for the last 20 years is going to be perfect, forever without changing.
Yeah, and I agree. And the approach that I take is I'm one of the few people in my building with a graduate degree, and it's an MBA. And, it's a master's in business, but some of the best ideas that I've had or we've had under this roof are not mine.
Yeah.
They're not, because you don't. If you have that mindset closed, thinking that you know everything, and you're gonna push so many excellent ideas by the wayside. And what I mean and what I'm saying is not you personally, but individuals that maybe rise to the top of certain things and then think that they know it all, and that's ego driven.
Yeah.
And here I am with like a professional business degree, and the best ideas that I've had aren't even mine.
Yeah.
And I take zero credit for any of it. I never spotlight myself, and I give it to everybody who made those ideas.
Yeah, it would be dumb to kind of just think that. I mean, thinking that you're perfect is just, or thinking that you can't improve on anything just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of you probably experienced this. A lot of the old school businesses will say, this can't be done, or they just have this old school look at things, or anything that you want to improve is going to cost more money. Throw money at the problem, sort of thing. I know we were talking about in one of my classes in our masters. It was the old school mentality is just in. How do you make more money? Well, buy a new machine. And it's things are very different now. So you don't need a new machine. All you can do is change up something in the system, and you're saving thousands.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. And speaking of business, can you explain a little bit about your business? I mean,
Yeah.
It's a year old, so congratulations.
Thank you.
North of 300K revenue is impressive.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a lot of mistakes were made, which was good.
Always.
Yeah. Which was good, but I think at this point I made kind of enough mistakes where I'm in a position to say, all right, I've messed around enough. I kind of have a direction now of where I want to take the business and exactly what I'm gonna do. So, basically, it's a supplement company, and I'll tell you how I started. So,
Please, yeah.
I was sitting with my dad, and my dad likes to talk a lot of about grand ideas and stuff. He's like, you could make this app, you could do this, and then he's like, I was looking at protein powders at the time because I was a week out from coming home. I was and I was just telling him, I was like, man, this protein powder sucks. It's got whey isolate or whatever, but it doesn't have this, or I don't know what I was saying, but basically it's you know what, you can make your own. I was like, I always end up making my own anyways, because if you buy stuff online, something might be great, but just be missing a couple things, and you just buy the raws and add them in there. So I was like, you know what, you're right, I could. And so I said, let me see how feasible it is. I went in, I looked at all the ingredients, all the raw materials, cost of making everything, and I was like, this is very feasible. I can make it for this much and sell it for so much more based on competitive pricing. And my supplements price lowest in the market. And I'll talk about that a little bit more because that's kind of part of my purpose. But so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for it. Contacted a graphic designer. I said, hey, I want to make a logo and a label and something for this product. Before that, I had to decide on the product. So at that time, I was doing keto, and I was looking for a good electrolyte powder, and I just couldn't find anything. I searched keto electrolyte powder, salt, sodium supplement. There was nothing. And I don't know if you've been on keto before, but you know, like your body flushes electrolytes very fast. So I was drinking like chicken broth every night, which is it sucks. And no, but I've tried not doing it.
No, I'm laughing because I've been there.
Yeah, it was
I
just,
felt like death.
Yeah, and as soon as I drink the chicken broth and like, you know, a little bit extra water, I feel like normal again. So I was like, I gotta keep drinking the chicken broth.
But you still smell like ammonia.
Yeah. And I mean, I wasn't buying organic chicken broth. Let's just put it that way. Right. I was buying like the little cubes. Who knows what they put in there? So it definitely wasn't healthy. So I was like, you know, let me start there. It's something I could use. I'm sure if I need it, someone else needs it. So I started there, and I said, let me do like research on the clinical studies and to make sure everything that I'm putting in there is in the exact like correct, you know, clinically backed amounts. So I did a ton of research, found like the exact dosages of like sodium, potassium, magnesium that I need. Then I found, here's you know, something not a lot of people know is electrolytes don't get absorbed well by the body unless they're paired with sugar or an amino acid. And so that's why a lot of like electrolyte supplements like Gatorade.
I was just going to say, a premise of Gatorade.
Yeah, Liquid IV, they have that CTR delivery method, which is basically 10 grams of sugar. Right. So I said, obviously I don't want sugar, I'm on keto, and even if I wasn't on keto, I don't want sugar in my diet. So, I mean, you know, you can strategically put it in there, but I was like, I just don't want it, you know. And so I went for amino acid, and I said, what's the best amino acid out there for what I do, which is MMA, and it was like taurine, obviously, because it enhances performance. Yeah, it helps, you know, central nervous system, skeletal muscle, stuff like that. So I was like, sure, let's go with that. I made it, and then I went to my friends, and I didn't say I made this. I said, hey guys, like I just got this like trial supplement. You guys want to try it? And they're like, oh yeah, what is it? I was like, oh, like you just take it like 30 minutes before training, and it's supposed to help you. And so I gave it to a bunch of my friends, and I took it, and it started working like really well. People are like, wow, like they're like, what's this stuff? And I was like, I just made this supplement. And they're like, can I buy it? I was like, I don't know, because I didn't know anything about supplement. You know, I didn't know. I was just like, I'm a chemist, so you know I can make stuff, but I had zero business experience. So I looked into it, and I told one of my friends, Lewis, who's like the head of marketing of CES MMA, and the first thing he said is like, November 2nd, you better get your shit right, because you're gonna have a table at CES MMA, which is an event, a promotion. So I was like, all right, I gotta get things going. So I bought the ingredients, I mixed them, you know, I made the bags, I got the labels, South Bear Printing right there, I got the labels done, stuck them on the bags. I went to the event, and I sold like 25 in one night, and I was like, wow, like 25 people.
You thought you were a king.
I was like, I didn't believe it. I was like, 25 people want to buy like my supplement. It was just like, it didn't feel like, I was like, what's going on here?
Right.
And then everyone kept asking me like, you know, where can I buy this? Where can I buy this? I was like, where do I buy my stuff? And I was like, I buy everything on Amazon. So I said, I gotta get on Amazon. And back then I thought like Amazon's this like, you know, and everything on Amazon is like Amazon buys it, you know, and it's like I thought it was a very like kind of exclusive thing. And then I did research, and you know, anyone can sell on Amazon. There's obviously paperwork you need to fill in, but really anyone can sell on Amazon. So I got into Amazon, and then I kept doing research. I was like, okay, so how do I make my stuff sell on Amazon? And at that point, you know, I was like watching a bunch of YouTube videos and stuff, and then like this company started like directing me. You know, they're very smart right now with marketing. So basically, I visited a YouTube channel, and this company, which is like a marketing service, like targets audiences of that YouTube channel. So as soon as I visited that YouTube channel, I saw an ad from it, and I clicked, and they start sending me like this free content, like, hey, if you want to sell more on Amazon, like here's what you should do with your advertising, stuff like that. So I was like, wow. And then I started implementing things and testing things, and it just kept, you know, getting better. And then I started going to conferences and you know, meeting with people, consulting with people who were like really good at Amazon advertising. And because I was a small brand, I didn't have like the financial backing or the branding that the bigger brands like Aspario, Optimum Nutrition had. But I did know how to mess with the algorithm enough that I can show up like, you know, in front of as many people as possible. So, you know, I started growing it that way, and you know, here we are now. I'm selling like, I think like over $2,000 a month, 2,000 units a month. Just released a new flavor, and you know, I'm just gonna be pumping out more flavors. We're gonna have like a pre-workout version, post-workout nighttime version. So that's basically it. kind of summary.
I don't even know where to start, but where I really want to focus is the self-development aspect of this. So what you're telling me is you went to school formally,
Mm-hmm.
and you got out of school formally, and then taught yourself how to develop the company that you wanted,
Mm-hmm.
advertise the company correctly, at least to a degree,
Yeah.
by self-education through YouTube, conferences, and networking.
Absolutely, yep.
So you didn't pay for any of that formally.
I did not pay for any of that education. So I mean, the only thing that I paid, well, I pirated a course.
Okay.
But you know, that course just taught me, like, it kind of summarized, like, this is what you should be doing on Amazon. It
Right.
didn't really like give me much.
But not like 50 grand for undergrad.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah, it was basically all I paid was $350 for one conference,
Okay.
where I met like 20 people there. You know, became friends with them. You know, quote unquote, and started, you know, emailing them saying, hey, I have this question. Hey, I have this quick. Hey, can I call you? I just have a quick question.
Oh, you
And
told
then-
me about these guys.
Yeah. And then from there, it was like, that's it. You know, I just basically, I mean, how would I learn? Let's say, I want to start lifting. I would just go, hey, Chris,
Yeah.
just teach me,
Right.
what should I do to get my biceps bigger?
Right.
It's kind of exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I didn't go to school
You
for
could
like
just inject synthol into that.
naturally.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm kidding, but well, actually, I'm not kidding. That would work. I just would never recommend it to
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah.
And I didn't. All I'm trying to say here is I'm trying to put the perspective for the audience that you taught yourself everything you needed to know to launch your business and bring in shy of 400K in year number 1.
Yep, exactly.
So you could, so it goes without saying that if you want to learn a trade or you want to learn something, it's
Anyone can do
possible
it.
to self-educate yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
And you can start with no money, because I started with $500. If you want to know how to make $500, go to McDonald's. It's like $10 an hour.
yeah, flip some burgers.
Work for 50 hours.
50 hours.
You have $500. You buy some product. You sell it 4 times as much. And now you just keep reinvesting into the company until you make $400,000 in a year.
That's
That's basically a summary. Of
yeah, but I think a lot of people psych themselves out because they think they can't do it for whatever reason, which
Yeah.
most people are controlled by fear, to include us.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of how you put the cap on fear. Guys like us that are doing $500,000, million plus in revenues, we have fear too.
Every day.
Well, every fucking day.
Yeah, but what's the worst that can happen? Let's say CW Fit like burns down.
Right.
What are you gonna do?
Oh yeah, if it burns down, I'm gonna collect the insurance check, which
Let's say there's no insurance. on
okay.
it. You just
Well, you know
get-
what? You know what
yeah.
you got to do? You got to accept that you're done. It's over. And you take all of that knowledge that I've learned for
That's
the
it.
past 11 fucking years being in business,
Mhm.
and it won't take me 11 years to get to this point.
Probably
it
a
will probably take me a year and a half.
Yep,
And
exactly.
I'd be right at the same place.
Yeah.
But the fundamental piece there would be building the correct team.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm going to talk to you about. Is
Yes.
You've recently started bringing on employees,
Mhm.
but before we get there, you're absolutely right because, God forbid you and I go out of business.
Yeah, you just
You're not
start again.
over.
Yeah.
You just fucking start over. And when you're self-employed, it's very possible that it happens. I mean, what if the internet shuts down?
Yeah.
You're fucked.
I'm fucked.
Yeah. I know people that solely make their income off Instagram.
Yeah.
If Zuckerberg decides to say, beep, no Facebook and Instagram, all them motherfuckers are fucked,
Mhm.
right? But it's not a big deal. You just find a new avenue of approach. And
Exactly.
it's like the same thing. Someone that has a 9-to-5 job gets into a car accident and they need 6 months of rehabilitation. Same shit,
They
different
get fired,
different circumstance.
And then see, I don't understand why people think it's such a big risk, because for us it's, I mean, I don't look at it as a risk. I look at it as I'm trying something, and if it fails, then what's the worst that can happen? I just find a 9-to-5 job where I make a lot of money because I have a ton of experience,
Right.
and then I take that money and I reinvest it in another business with all the knowledge, like you said, that I gained.
Exactly.
And then I start another business, and
Right.
if it fails, then just
Right.
you keep trying.
You just keep going.
Yeah.
And you just don't stop. And
Yeah.
I've been saying this, and I'm not the only one who says this, but I've been saying this for years. I try to tell that, you know, people come to me, Chris, I'm unhappy at my job. What do I do? Blah, blah. Go on
Just
fucking
leave.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Go on YouTube before you leave. Figure out what the fuck you want to do. Teach yourself how to do it. And the same amount of time you, quote, work in the week. Because we all know if you're 9 to 5, you're not actually working those 40 hours. You might put in a few hours a day. So we'll say, I don't know, 20 hours tops. The same amount of time you spend working at your job, you can teach yourself a trade in that same amount of time, 40 hours, and you could learn how to fucking market on Amazon.
You can learn anything.
I mean, drop shipping right now is like one of the hottest things to be able to do, and you can make $1 million in the first fucking year. It all depends on how much you want to risk teaching yourself how to do it.
And just go for it. I mean, you know, what's the worst that can happen is you try it, you learn, it doesn't work, you lose $1,000. So what?
Right.
You make it back.
And it's the same thing with owning a gym. I don't go like knock on Planet Fitness's door and say, hey, listen, can you teach me how to own a gym? No, I take my ass to fucking conferences. I read books every day. I listen to podcasts, and I watch YouTube.
Exactly.
It's not. I mean, YouTube's minimal in comparison to how much I read, but I enjoy reading.
Exactly.
So you know, it is what it is. I mean, here's one of my next books right here, and this is about marketing a gym.
What is it called?
It's 113 million markets of one.
Nice.
But the point is self-education.
Exactly.
Teach yourself whatever you want to do.
And that's one thing I want to touch on real quick is,
please.
You know, before you start saying, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that, you definitely need to educate yourself enough that you become good at like one thing. You know, a lot of people like will start at the wrong end, which is like, you know, I want to jump into a business. And I'm like, but, I mean, what I had going for me was I had a network of people around me that, you know, were going to support me with the supplements because I was around a bunch of athletes. But I also had my chemistry and chemical engineering degree, which kind of put me in a formulation other people, you know, weren't going to be able to come up with. I was also working in engineering for a while, so I could, you know, I used some of that experience. So, but, you know, before any of that, you just need to like learn something and get really good at something, and you know, so it kind of goes back to
learn your trade.
Yeah, learn your trade, become good at something, and then go for it. Not go for it and then try and get good at it.
Which is an approach. Yeah. It's just a little bit more risky.
Yeah. But in both cases, you're gonna have to get good at something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just a matter of how much fucking pain you can handle.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of did it backwards, which is like I threw myself into like the deep end, and I launched the business, and I was like, oh well, I gotta learn how to market, because like, you know, the stuff's not gonna sell itself. But if I had learned how to market while I was in my 9 to 5 job, then by the time I was done, things would have been a lot easier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, and I'm really happy that we can connect on this level between us and for the audience. And you know, the next thing I really wanted to ask you about was you recently told me you brought on some staff and you've automated a few things.
Yeah.
Can you explain that process?
Yeah. So obviously, you know, I was at a point now where the company was running. I was making money monthly. I was bringing in good income. It was enough to replace my my entire salary. You know, profits plus. So I was like, okay, what happens if anything happens to me? What happens if I'm like, you know, I just want to take a week off vacation? I can't, because the entire business runs on me. And
that's trading your time for money.
Exactly, which I'm very, very against, because
me too.
And this came about when I read the book, the E-Myth, E-Myth Revised.
It's a big one.
Yeah, and it was like, well, basically, I didn't you know, free myself. All I did was I left a job to become a slave at another job, but except the boss is now me and it's my company, which I didn't want, you know, because it's like, what's the point of doing all this?
It's called buying a job.
Yeah. So I decided everything that I needed to do needed to be in a system, almost like how McDonald's does their stuff, you know, and that's kind of, you know, covered in the book. And basically, for every single task that I did, even if it was a one-time thing, I created a very detailed procedure on how to do it, and I created a training video, even if I was never going to do it again, you know, just in case. Yeah. So, you know, I have like maybe 67 or something procedures now for every little detail of the business, and you know, 67, but there's like, you know, 0.1s and 0.2s and stuff, so there's probably more. But anyways, it got to a point where it's like, okay, you know, let me write down a list of everything that I do every day. And I wrote down a list of everything that I do and that needed to be done for the business. And then I prioritized it. And basically like 75 or 80% of the bottom is like non-essential, really. It doesn't need to be done by me. It can be done by anyone else.
Right.
There's only maybe 10 to 20% of stuff that I only trust myself right now to do.
Same with me in this business. Yeah.
And so
I'm not making shakes for people and signing up memberships.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm going over financial statements and marketing campaigns and managing managers
and cash flow and all that stuff.
Cash flow, yeah.
So it's one way to lose your business quick.
Put someone else in charge of your money.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a CFO of like pedigree, and you have the money to pay that person.
Yeah. Which I'm sure both of us will
eventually. Yeah. But I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No problem. So basically, it got to a point where I was like, all right, well, my time is much better spent doing two things. It's that 10 to 20% and education. Because if I'm not educating myself every single day, if I'm not growing as a CEO of a company,
yes, sir,
then I'm just going to fall behind. And if I'm, bogged down in the operations every day. So at that point, I was like, all right, I have procedures. I can bring someone on to follow these procedures and automate, 80 bottom percent.
Your first system is basically. Yeah.
So I hired my first assistant. I call her social media manager, but she's also kind of my personal assistant.
Hey, I got one of those. What's up, Marianne? What's up? Marianne doesn't want to say anything.
She does a lot of she does all my social media, but she also does a lot of a lot of extra stuff that I asked her to do.
Yes, same with Marianne.
Yeah,
they're just like an awesome like team member.
Exactly.
With primary focus of social media.
Exactly. Yeah.
Integral part of businesses in 2019, guys. If you don't have one, go get one.
Yeah, and the reason I needed someone to start with the social media is because I'm building a brand and not just like here's a supplement that I'm selling. I needed to really build that brand, and to build that brand, I need the consistent messaging and consistent posting and being in people's faces. So it's kind of like I've seen this person before many times. Like, this is a brand now. So I hired her on, and really all she did was I said, hey, go to procedures 1 to 3, read them, watch the videos, let me know if you have any questions. She said, I don't have any questions. I said, well, start doing them. She started doing them. She's like, is that good? I was like, yes. I was like, okay, now go to 4 to 6, and so on and so forth. And now I want to say like what I was doing then, which I said, took all my time, I got to say like 99% of it is now she does it. And then I hired another girl to also help her and undo some other stuff too. But basically, my main business, 99% of it is now automated or delegated to someone else. So, it's just amazing because now I can actually like say, all right, I'm going to take this week off, and I don't have to worry about my business completely collapsing.
I'm going to piggyback off a couple of things there. Number one, for any business owners here, first things first, if you're not on social media, okay, guys, go download Instagram, Facebook, and what else, Marianne?
Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn.
Yeah, all that fucking shit right now. Because if you don't get on the social media game right now, you're done. You're gone. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business, doesn't matter how big your book is, you're going to get smashed by other competitors serving your customers ads and for cheaper services for possibly better work, depending on what it is. So if you aren't on social media, get your ass on social media. Secondly, if you're in the position to where you can afford to have someone run your social medias, do it right now.
You'll always be in a position because you can hire someone from the Philippines for $200 a month.
Right.
So I mean, how do you have a business and not make $200 a month? And even if you're not making $200 a month, you still have a full-time job, right? I mean, obviously, I don't suggest anyone kind of like quit their job before they're making enough money, but you still have a full-time job. You just take $200 from your full-time job a month, give it to someone to work 40 hours a week for you. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer, and that really isn't a lot of money in the grand scheme of things when it comes to operating a business. So my suggestion is, if you don't have a social media marketer right now, I would highly suggest you start planning for one. I personally feel that the field of social media marketing is about to explode.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be a perfect time, if you're listening to this and it's resonating with you, go get your ass on YouTube and learn how to do it. And then if you want to work for someone, you can make some serious money doing it for them.
Yeah.
If you do it well.
Yeah.
Right? So there's all different types, sides here. Business owners, people that want to work for business owners. Not everybody has to own a business.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the grit to own a business. You got to be a tough motherfucker to own a business. And you can't have any personal feelings about shit. But the point is, you don't necessarily have to own a business. What I'm saying is, if you want to follow a tough motherfucker and help them and grow within their business, I know plenty of people that are perfectly content growing in someone else's business.
Yeah.
Right? And that's cool. There's no shame. But this is a position that if you don't have one in your company, or if you're interested, you can learn the skill set for free. Right, Marianne? Right? And go and have this position, or go be this position, because it's so vitally important.
It's incredibly valuable.
It's incredibly valuable. And, you know, all I did was I put up a job listing on Indeed 5 months ago.
Yeah.
5 months ago. And, you know, my hiring process is they have to get through my managers,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
If they get through my managers, they can sit down with me.
Okay.
And then if I like them, I'll hire them.
Yeah.
But if they're sitting down with me, they're highly recommended from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's 2 interviews before they get to me. Realistically, I shouldn't even be doing the interviews anymore. Yeah. I trust my staff if they want them to work here. You know, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to manage them. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So anyways, the point is, she sat down, she blew me away.
Wow.
And, you know, we've had this conversation on the show before, but she goes to Pratt, which is, you know, like a school that's centered around production of video, correct?
Yeah, that's one of their majors.
Right. Production of video is what she does, and she does an excellent job. And you're saying your girl does an excellent job, right?
She's killing it. I mean, one thing that I love about her is she's proactive. And that's I mean, as a business owner, is kind of like a dream come true.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Having a proactive employee, as much as I want her to follow like the procedures, but like one day, you know, I have great procedures, but one day she came and she said, you know, hey Mina, it's like this athlete's birthday. Should we make a post about it? I was like, oh my God, like
what a fantastic idea.
I was like, I totally forgot to include that in the procedures, which is every time one of our sponsored athletes has a birthday, make a post about it, because like that's a perfect thing to like kind of bring that like sense of community about. It's like, hey, you know, we have athletes and you know, we love them and happy birthday. And I was like, I love it. And then, you know, and it was just, it's one idea after the next idea after the next idea. And, you know, only recently, like maybe 2 weeks ago, I said, hey, like, you know, I was listening to someone, you know, saying if you have a good employee, you grow them. So I said, hey, you know, what do you want to learn about? And she just goes, I want to learn about this, 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 and this. Mm-hmm. And I was like, absolutely. I would love for you to learn more about everything and then, you know, help me make more money, basically, by being good at everything else.
Help us make more money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And money is something I teach my staff.
Yeah.
I'll make them count thousands of dollars. Get used to it. Feel it.
Yeah.
Haven't I done that?
Yeah.
Something I put like 10 grand in. Was it your hands?
I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe.
I think it was maybe. Anyways, if you could help your staff
mm-hmm.
with things that might seem simple to us,
mm-hmm.
like a savings account.
Yeah.
Right now, that's simple to us,
mm-hmm.
but like 90% of people in America don't have a savings account.
Yeah.
They live paycheck to paycheck,
yeah.
or some shit like that, like 80%. Yeah. I could be a little off.
Yeah, most people live paycheck.
Yeah, and if you could teach little things, or like financial literacy, or leadership, or whatever.
I was just talking to my sister yesterday, and I said, she's like, oh, like, you know, my bank account's kind of low. I was like, do you know what your cash flow's like? And she said, what's that? I said, how much money's coming in? And she immediately had an answer because that was her income. I said, how much money's going out? And she didn't know. And I was like, well, you got to know, because, you know, if money out is more than money in, then that's why you're, you know, getting to a negative balance, basically. And it's something very simple for us, because, you know, if you can't do that, then our business will be out of business immediately. But for them, it's just kind of like, wow, like this is new information to me. So
Yes.
definitely agree. I mean, helping your employees, I like to help my employees, you know, in any way possible. And, you know, that's definitely one of them, is just kind of educating them on the things that I learned the hard way.
Yeah, and that's the premise to this
Yeah.
show.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
you say that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love the fact that it's like you kind of went through all the bullshit, and now it's like, hey, let me help everyone else not go through the same bullshit.
absolutely, and you know, there's so much that could be learned from us
Mhm.
to others, but and there's at the same time, like we said with pain, it's all relevant. There's so much that we could learn from
Mhm.
others.
That's what I'm always doing.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter who it is in my life. There could be some truths there, and especially, of course, we listen to people that are more successful
Of
than
course,
us.
yeah.
Because,
there's always someone
'cause-
more successful than you in,
oh,
in
yeah.
some area of life.
oh yeah, totally. And you know, and I think sometimes that's why people move.
Mhm.
You know, for instance, like I lived in West Haven for a while,
Mhm.
and I outgrew West Haven. I was like, I need to get the fuck out of West Haven. And I don't mean this. I don't mean
In a bad way.
I don't mean
For
in a
West
bad
Haven
way.
residents.
But what I mean is, I outgrew West Haven in the people.
Mhm.
I was more successful than everyone. I
Mhm.
never bumped into anyone more successful than me.
Mhm.
I'm sure they were around, like down on the water somewhere,
Yeah.
but I never
Maybe
saw
hiding them
Yeah,
or something.
I
yeah.
never saw them. And I moved just a couple towns over to Milford, and now I'm around successful people.
Mhm.
And my neighborhood is wealthy.
Yeah.
And people are like well-to-do, and I need to be around that.
Mhm.
And I think that might have, and I could be wrong, might be one of the reasons why you are moving.
Yeah. So recently, yeah, it was the same thing. I feel like I outgrew. Well, there's two reasons. I definitely outgrew Connecticut as a whole, and but I also can't
I
do
feel
the
you
weather.
on that one.
Yeah, I can't do the weather anymore. You know, coming from a very very warm. I mean, it's like right now it's like 95 in Dubai, 85 in Egypt. So
Yeah.
you know, I just very different weather for me here. It's like it's 25, 30 right now or something like that. But anyways, part of the reason I'm moving to LA is because, you know, you can be, you know, more right, and it's the people who are around you help you grow. And I got to a point here where there's only very few people around me that, you know, might be able to help me grow. There's definitely people around me, you know, that I can benefit from, but it's not an abundant thing, and it's, you know, I just needed to be in a place where I'm surrounded by people who are doing a lot more, a lot better than me, who are a lot more successful, who know a lot more, and kind of just dive in there and learn from them. So that was, you know, one of my biggest motivations moving there, and I think it's going to be great for the business. It's going to be great for me as a person, and yeah, I mean, it's basically you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think who you surround yourself with is vitally important. One of the hardest lessons that I've ever done when it came to my surroundings was cutting toxic people out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes toxic people are the closest ones to you.
Yeah.
And
Learn
sometimes
that the hard way.
yeah, and sometimes it's yourself, you know,
Yeah.
and you just really have to change your lens of focus on life. But you know, at this point in life, I generally only surround myself in my free time with successful, wealthy people. You know, you have to bring around you where you want to go or who you want to be like. And being around successful people is very important in my opinion. And
Yeah.
you going out to LA will be hugely influential for you because everybody is somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone there before, and that's how I made my first hire and was successful, is because I met a guy there. He was ahead of me, a couple steps ahead of me. I think he had like maybe 5 or 6 employees, and I was like, you know, how do I go about hiring an employee? I've never done it before. And he said, well, do this, 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 and he had a procedure for it. So I took that procedure and I followed it to the T, and you know, here we are. I have an amazing employee. Couldn't be more grateful to him. So, you know, just it shows that, you know, surrounding yourself by people who've done things that you want to do is just the best way to accomplish these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I just want to quickly go back to the whole thing of cutting toxic people out. So there's one thing that always stuck with me, and Grant Cardone said it, and he said, you know, beware of like the naysayers. And those are the people that are like your mom or your cousin or sister or whatever, best
Yup.
friend. And those people, it's the worst thing because they actually have your best interest at heart, but they have bad advice. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you need to identify it and say, you know, yeah, my mom like loves me, but she's probably gonna say, you know, why you gotta risk like this and that? Like, why don't you just take a safe, secure job, working 9 to 5, making like $70,000 a year? And it's like, you know, yeah, she loves me and she doesn't want me to get hurt, but is that good advice? Like, no, it's horrible advice. So
It's horrible advice to guys like us.
yeah,
You know, it's great advice for like the average-minded, like normal individual, and I use this not as tactfully as I should, but it's a very average mindset. It's a very average mindset, and it's their lens of focus.
Yeah.
Safe is easy.
Safe is easy, safe is good. You're never, you know, you're never gonna get hurt. But I'm like, you know, how safe is a job? You could get fired the next day. You know, the company could shut down. It's happened to me before where the company shut down. Happened to me where I got fired. You know, well, you know, I didn't get fired. I actually like stopped really working.
Yeah.
You know, it's because I was like I was done. But
Right.
you know, it's happened.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And LA will be good for you, man.
Yeah.
And you know I'll be rooting for you out here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll definitely link up
I'll be
again.
back, yeah.
We'll link up again. I usually come out to LA in April anyways for fitness shows, but
Perfect.
I know you're going to kill it.
Yeah.
I know
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I really want everyone to be able to find you and watch your journey. So, you know, on that note, where can they find you? How can they find you?
So my Instagram is at Egyptian_prescription_Elias. MMA Nutrition _official is the company one. On Facebook it's just Mina Elias or Mina.Elias7. If you're having trouble finding me, my LinkedIn's Mina Elias. So you can find me everywhere. My email is mina@MMANutritionLLC.com. If you want to shoot me an email, ask me anything. I'm always happy to help people.
Good. And listen, guys, look him up, follow him. Make sure that you're watching his journey because he's just started and he's kicking ass. And it's fun to watch people in their like monstrous expansion phase, I guess you can say. And that being said, thank you for your time. We appreciate everyone listening. If this resonates with you or you like the content, share it with your friends. Help us get our message out there. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Subscribe to me on YouTube, CW Clinic, not the CW Clinic. It's CW Clinic. Subscribe. Hit subscribe on YouTube. While you're there, leave a review. It will help us get heard. We really appreciate it.
And hit the bell so when a new episode drops, you're notified.
That's it. And my closing words here today are get your ass on YouTube and learn yourself a trade if you hate your job, because you can make some serious fucking money doing what you like.
And what's the worst that could happen?
You lose it all, but then you rebuild it.
That's it. Nothing to lose.
That's it. All right, guys. We'll catch you next time.